At 75, I've decided there's some things it's just time to move on from, time to make room for something new. And that is not always easy. As a matter of fact, the path can feel super bumpy. Feels like that right now for me. I sat here and hesitated to even turn on the camera because I'm kind of feeling this emotion welling up to even talk about all of these things. And so I'm going to just kind of go free form today, see how this goes. I have no guarantees. This is Tina Lorenz, and I'm sitting here in Tucson in our front courtyard. And the courtyard itself has a story. It's a beautiful day here, first of all, and chilly for Arizona. We've had a morning of frost and some freezing, finally. It's taken quite a while this winter for that to even happen, so I'm bundled up just a little bit. But our mural extends all the way across the front of our property. I've shown you some of the views from our property where the wildlife comes and all of that. But this is our kind of personal front courtyard space that is another retreat for us here in Tucson. And we had an artist named Joss who lived here in Tucson, and he has painted this mural that extends all the way around the front of the property. I'll be showing you bits and pieces of it in future videos. And today I chose to sit in this spot. It's a trompe-l'oeil painting, so it looks very realistic. And he painted it in sections for us, given instructions that we gave him and inspiration, ideas of what we'd like to see and why. And there's a very pronounced theme during part of this wall of living in Mexico, because we had a bucket list of things we wanted to experience. And when Ron had his first heart attack in 2008, one of the things on that list had been to live in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. And so after, thankfully, he survived by and he had a couple of stents, went through rehab, and we decided we were going to go to Mexico. That was back in 2008. And I have so many stories that I'll be sharing about our life there, the wonderful people, the things that were scary, the things that were beautiful and amazing, but it left an absolute lifelong impact on both of us. So now we choose to live in Tucson. And so I'm going to start today by talking about walking through the fire when things are hard. And I don't know if anybody thinks I've had a charmed life or anything from my time online in the last 21 years, but it's been far from that. And this part of the mural right here represents part of that journey. Because you see, in 2000, during the pandemic, while we were watching television one evening, Ron went into the bathroom, taking a break, came out and said, "Call 911, I'm having a heart attack." And that was the beginning of another chapter for us. And yes, he was having a heart attack. I got his baby aspirin, told him to take that, had him lay down on the floor, called 911. And when they arrived, that's when they told me, you have to decide if you're going with us or not, because if you go into the hospital, you're not going to be able to leave because of the rules and regulations surrounding the pandemic at that time. And because we didn't know what was going to happen, we had no family here. At the time, we had 4 dogs. And Ron was like, just stay here, just stay here. Stay here till we find out what's happening. And that was an absolute gut-wrenching decision that we had to make in an instant while the paramedics were loading him into the back of an ambulance out here in the dark, and Tucson's very dark where we are at night. As it turned out, he had to have a triple bypass, and I did end up going to the hospital. They told me to wait until after he had the surgery, and they used video and things to show me how he was recovering. It was tough to even look at on video. And I did end up spending time in the hospital with him while he was recovering. And we were on a floor that had been a COVID unit. So, I mean, all of it was just like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen with all of this? At the same time, artist Joss, and by the way, Josh, shout out to you if you happen to see this video. Josh is from the Philippines. And sadly for us, after he had completed doing all these murals and other murals he's done all over town, he chose to retire because he was, I don't know, in his late 60s, I think, when he was painting this, and that was 10 years ago. He decided he was going to retire back to the Philippines, living like a king, I'm pretty sure, and living happily there now. So, but we appreciate his artistry so much. And one of the things I wanted on this was village scenes of the people of the villages selling fruit, being with each other, all different ages, all of this. And I know you can't see the whole thing here, but this was a representation of an older man pushing a wooden cart filled with clay vessels. And at the time, vessels, since Ron had triple blockage of them, seemed very symbolic to me. And when I came home from the hospital one day, I said, Joss was still working on this section, and I said, please paint a sacred Mexican heart into the cart. I want it nestled in the vessels, which he did beautifully. I've always loved the Sacred Heart, the image of it, the meaning of it, the walking through fire, that love carries you through, all of those things. And then I found out later that even putting a piece of that into the art of this mural is called an ex voto, which is kind of like a tribute, something that represents something significant in your life. And so 10 years later, we're coming up on 10 years in this house, the Sacred Heart is nestled in this cart. And I find strength from that, because some of the things I'm giving up, I'm moving on past at 75, so many things. I've had a really successful 21 years online with a business that has done extremely well for me and for my clients. But I had to start facing something over the last couple of years, and I am still untangling this. I'm here to tell you, it's not easy, because there's some things that I'm moving past, some things I'm moving on from, and I'm really, really working at simplifying, because I found that I was just on a treadmill, working so hard, working long hours. You know, entrepreneurs sometimes work way more than people in traditional jobs, and part of me loved it, and part of me was just getting exhausted. And then I have Ron, who's legally blind, has had a triple bypass. He had a knee surgery 2 years ago this month where they damaged a nerve in his leg and caused other complications. Even though his knee was great, the rest of his leg wasn't. And there's so many things dealing with the changes, right? And, you know, Ron and I often refer to things as life lessons, and that's something that I think we all continue to go through of what am I supposed to learn from this? I do feel, from the spiritual perspective, that there are reasons why certain things are given to us to deal with, and then we make a decision about how we are going to interpret that. The thing we have control over is how we interpret that. So I've spoken a little bit about estrangement of adult child, not having a big extended family. I had to step away from my family of origin because of very, very heavy duty dysfunction and issues of things that happened to me as I was growing up. Until finally the only solution was, even though I tried to get help for the entire family, the only solution finally was I had to move forward. So there's a weird sort of energy to all that too. But I had to really face up to the fact that things are really changing in the online world. Things are really changing in our personal world of how much energy do I want to devote to this. When you're 75 and you're seeing every day a statement of someone younger than you who's no longer on earth has transitioned, you know, and you start doing the math in your head. I've done that way more times than I care to admit, of not knowing. No one knows. No one knows. All we really have is this very moment. And the minute I say this, it's already passed. And whatever I'm going to say or think about isn't even here yet. So we only can experience the now of where we are right this minute. But when I start to have a husband saying, I wish we'd just spend more time together, even though we're in the same house, I'm just down the hall in my office, that he can feel isolated because of what I'm doing at the work. There's a lot of layers to that too, because early on in our marriage, I became the breadwinner. I had to become the breadwinner. I had lots of feelings about that, because my childhood fantasy, my young adult fantasy, to my detriment, I would say, is I thought some man would rescue me. I thought some man would provide me with a life. And my identity was around that in my early 20s, for example. Big mistake, don't do it. So if there's a life lesson there for anyone younger watching this, staking that claim of who you really are, and celebrating that, owning that, feeling the strength of that, so important. And I know the reasons why, I know many of the reasons why I had a different way of thinking at that time. And also it was a different time period. I'm 75, you know, that was in the late 60s. And it was still transitioning into more women being more independent and being able to really create something for themselves. I never thought I could create anything of significance for myself. I really did not. I had very poor opinion of myself as far as any of those other things. And it wasn't until I was past 50, 53, 54, that I really stepped into, because of some of the things that had happened for a few years before as well, that started to give me more confidence that I could do something, that I could make an impact. And you, gentle viewer, people like you are the ones that have helped me through all of that by being sort of like a family to me online and just a community. And it's really more than, I think it's really more the community aspect of it. And that's why I want now to create community for people like us, people who are past 50, people who start to feel like they're taking up less space in the room, people who start to feel like, oh, you're really nice and we really like you, but they're working with someone who's 30, or trying to keep up with constantly changing advice about what happens online and what works with this and what works with that, and really getting focused on what works for you. What works for you? What can you trust in yourself? Do you trust in yourself? And certainly my journey has been filled with transitions and change about this, because now one of the things I've learned is I don't need to try and be everything to everyone. I can't rescue anyone. I can't change anyone else. This applies to both personal and business life. And really getting clear, really hearing your own heart tell you what feels right for you at this chapter, this juncture of your life. Because this isn't about, I've used words like reinventing and that type of thing, recalibrating, and it's really like we have earned relevance. We, in this category of life, have earned relevance by our own life experience, by the things that we have, that we can teach others, by the examples that we give to others. I never knew any of my grandparents. Not 1 minute was spent with a grandparent. I never had a grandparent experience. It was very, very important to me to be meaningful and impactful and loving presence in my grandchildren's life as they begin to arrive. And now, 2 of the 3 is very, very difficult for us to maintain that because of the estrangement that I've spoken of. These things are heartbreaking, but we have to find our peace. We have to find the peace. We have a decision to make whether we choose to live in suffering, live in lack, live in anxiety, or whether we choose to find the peace of our own soul, our own spirit, however that shows up for you, whatever that means for you. I do have a spiritual life. I do believe there's something beyond here. I believe that we are all connected at some very deep level. And it's not always easy to remember that. Some days it can feel like the tears are right behind your eyes all day long and you don't even know why. And so accepting that sometimes and just allowing it, but also knowing this too shall pass, because we're not our thoughts. We're the thinker of our thoughts. And when we get past that, like the clouds that have moved off today, we had rain for the past 2 days, dark skies, heavy rain, some wind, and then it clears up. And we have the blue sky and the sunshine and the hummingbirds. And it's all still there. It was always there, behind the clouds, behind the dark, behind the rain. It was always there, and it's always there for you as well. I'm probably wandering all over the place, and this is kind of a free-form Friday experiment to see if there's something I can share with you that's meaningful for you. Now, one thing that's very important in my life is color, and I'm not afraid of it. I had to laugh this morning. I was reading an article in AARP magazine, and there was this nice, tidy little thing about how to bring more color into your life by the experts, right? And the first one was, if you're used to wearing black and muted colors, start small. Take it easy. Try using one pink t-shirt in your wardrobe. I'm not kidding. I literally said this. Or maybe a forest green one. And I'm reading this and I'm just laughing. Because it's like I've always been all about the color, the energy of color, because it energizes me. And I believe from people I've been around that my energy seeps out for others as well. I'm not afraid to have purple hair. The sun's starting to shine on a little bit right now. And I've had it for 9 or 10 years because I used to color my hair red, auburn, and I just got tired of doing it. And so I decided I'm just going to see what happens. I don't even know what color my hair is. Now the joke is that I found out it was purple, but actually what I found out it was turning white. And this was over 10 years ago. And so at first I did that for a little while, and I had really shiny white hair, and I kept thinking about purple. What would it be like just to have a few little bits of purple in my hair, you know? And so I decided to do it. And I loved it immediately. because to me, it felt more like me. It just felt like me. I didn't care what anybody else thought. I didn't care if anybody else liked it. As it turns out, a lot of people have, and there's been people that have judged. So here's a lesson for you at 75. Don't give a flying fig what anybody else thinks about you, right? Be able to own who you truly are. I have literally we were at a Culver's, a fast food restaurant, getting a hamburger, and it was kind of busy, and there's a lot of older people there, and there was this older gentleman with his wife, and he was hard of hearing, so he spoke rather loudly, and he was looking at me, and he looks at his wife, and he goes, "I'm glad you don't do that to your hair." And I just started laughing right there, because it was like, okay, no problem. I've had a client tell me she hesitated about working with me because I had purple hair. I was interviewed on Channel 7 News in Denver, remotely interviewed, and when I read the comments afterwards, someone said, anyone with purple or blue hair at this age is just woke. And I just laughed at that, because like, what the heck does that even mean, first of all? And I started doing this 10 years ago, hello, and because I just feel like myself when I do it, that's why. And yeah, actually I do get compliments, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is the people have told me, I wish I were brave enough to do that. I wish my husband would let me do that. I wish I had the courage. I would love to do that, but I'm scared. And I'm like, it's just hair. Okay, and it's short. So that means it grows out. And right now the sun is shining over the top of the wall, so you're getting kind of there we go, kind of a mix of it. And I'm not going to move, so it's just going to be whatever it is for light. But it makes me happy to do it. My husband, just turns out he actually loves it. And I just feel refreshed and rejuvenated and revitalized when I do it. Glasses. I have many pairs of glasses. Now, I'm getting to the point at 75 where I'm like, I don't really need so many pairs, but I'm going to tell you a little secret. And it's a good thing my prescription hasn't changed too much in the last few years, because I have 22 pairs of glasses. But what I find is I'm only wearing a few. I'm just wearing a few. Now, I'm not ready to give them up, but I don't need to add to them either. And so how do we simplify? How do we scale down? We collect stuff, but there's certain things we have that give me pleasure and peace and joy. My vintage lamps, some of our art on our walls, these murals. We've thought, should we move into a smaller place? Should we downsize from this piece of property because it's an acre? And it can be kind of a lot to take care of, But it's like it gives us so much peace. We have this amazing view. We have hummingbirds everywhere. You can hear the sound of, we have 2 fountains you can hear the sound of. We have the wildlife. We have a collection, you can't see it in this one, of stained glass windows that we brought back from Mexico that are probably about 70 years old, that are built into these mural walls. And the light shines through them in the most beautiful way every single day. Do we give that up? Because society says, oh, at this age, you should be downsizing. You should be doing something different. And I got another great surprise today when I was reading the same issue of AARP. Every 2 years, they do an analysis of the most affordable, best places to live for people who are retiring. If you're looking for a new place. And we've gone through this. Should we move here? Should we do this? Should we do something different? And part of the issue has been, we're going to be by ourselves there too. We don't have any kids there, wherever there was that we were talking about. And so it was early this morning. I was like, oh, I think I'll take a look at this, because I like articles like that, actually. So I open it up, and I see, okay, well, here's Montpelier, Vermont. Now, that sounds charming. We've been to Vermont. We've been to Montpelier. That's a pretty place, but it's so far away, and they have snow. Then the one next to it is a place in Iowa. Well, we've been to Iowa many times. One of our adult kids went to school in Iowa, and we went there many, many times while they were in college, and lovely people. Oh my gosh, but they get tornadoes, and we had some scary stuff with tornadoes, And then I see on the right-hand column of this open 2 pages, one more place. And I look at it, and it says Tucson, Arizona. When I saw that, I'm not kidding, I started laughing out loud. Ron was outside taking the trash out. I'm laughing out loud and almost crying at the same time. Okay, I know what that's called. That's called hysterics. And I was very close to it. There was just something about it that just slammed me full force into, OMG. We're sitting here thinking about all these other things. Should we? And we already have it. And that's another lesson for you. And by the way, the 3 dogs we have now were all looking at me like, okay, she's actually lost her mind. We need to stay close in case there's an emergency here, and we need to alert. They were just very concerned. gathering around me. Like, what is she doing? You know? And then I read the article to Ron, and I found myself feeling really emotional when I read it to him, because it was like, let's remember what we already have. There's another lesson for you right there. What do you already have that's beautiful and amazing and can work for you because it's right for you, not because certainly the magazine said so, but it was just kind of a weirdly great confirmation at the moment of reading it. Like, yes, we already have it, you know? And it's tough because we don't have any family here. And I know we have an adult child that's very concerned that we be closer to them, but they live in a very expensive area that we're not really feeling like, how would that work for us as we get older, right? And so, I don't know, just taking those moments to consider those things. Taking the moments to consider, I gotta tell you, I can't stand LinkedIn. I'm just gonna say it. I've taught programs about it. I have fully developed my LinkedIn profile. And every time I put something in there and go look at it, I'm just like irritated, you know? Like it's taking my energy for this thing that's lost 65% of its organic reach in 2025, trying to make that work in some way for attracting a client. And then there's Facebook, where, oh, everybody, you know, reacts really quickly and you get that kind of feedback, but then what? Or just all the doom scrolling that you can do on Facebook. And what I'm finding, my home at this point, what feels really right to me is YouTube. And here I am, because I'm decided I'm going all in with this. And I'm not just going to talk about copywriting and marketing and mindset, which I do, talk about how to use ChatGPT, which I do. I also want to just talk about, this is me. This is what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm experiencing in life right now. This is what I have experienced. Is it helpful to you? Is it of interest to you? And you know what? The only way I'm going to know is by doing it. When I commit to something, I'm all in. I don't do stuff halfway. And so not without some bumps in the road, am simplifying by not continuing to post repeatedly on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I'll forget Instagram. I mean, I've done it just because you're supposed to, right? Another one of those things, and I really don't like it. It's never felt like home to me. But I'm finding the thought of being able to just talk to you in this way and see if, delivery truck in the background, sorry for the noise, see if it's helpful to you. Your comments, your questions, your feedback. What do you want to know about being 75 with purple hair and a blind husband who's had several heart attacks and a bad leg, you know, here in Tucson, Arizona, without any family, without any kids here, any adult kids or anything like that? What's that like, you know? How do we find our way? I've had a very high earning capacity over the years. That's changing because so many things. Do you ever feel like people just like you, but like I said, they're working with somebody else, or they don't understand totally the value of working with you, or you're kind of losing interest in the other thing you thought you were going to do, right? So I guess that's about, I'll probably figure out afterwards I should have said something else. You know? I probably will. But I just wanted to do this and see what you think. What is this like for you? Where are you at in your life? What do you care about and not care about anymore? Honestly, I don't really care if a bunch of people like me. I know there's a bunch of people that don't. I know they don't, and there's some very close to home that have decided they don't. That's not easy. It's not easy to look at your life and say, I wonder how much more of it I have. My mother lived to 100. That's no guarantee for me, but she did live to be 100. So there's some genetics at work there that could be in my favor. I don't smoke. I don't drink. My blood work's all pretty good. I need to lose some weight. That's another story of how we insulate ourselves from things that have happened in the past. And I do believe there is such a strong component of that, of how we protect ourselves, ways that are sneaky and creep up on you. I'll tell you another thing I'm giving up is buying a lot of new clothes. I have a bedroom here with 2 of those big, long, rolling racks that you can hang clothes on, filled with clothes. 2 of them jammed into this bedroom. We have someone come to stay with us. We got to roll it out into another room, into the garage. And I've decided, and shoes, let's not even talk about shoes, okay? I don't wear fancy shoes, but I have a lot of them. And I used to go to a lot of events. I used to go to a lot of marketing events, and every time I went, I'd be buying new jackets, expensive jackets, you know, designery kinds of things. It's expensive for me, several $100s, you know, that kind of thing. Not thousands, but a lot of them, and worn some not at all, some once or twice. And I keep looking at like, what am I going to do with this? And so what I decided I'm going to do is I'm going to look for some really nice consignment stores here in Tucson, and I'm going to start taking armloads. Some of the things I'm giving away, I'm giving them, donating them. We have a pickup that's going to happen next week for veterans. They need all kinds of things. You put out your bags of stuff, and we've already got several bags lined up, and we're doing more. So I want to support that. But also, I thought, why not take them to some of these things to consignment? So I'm going to try that. I'll let you know how it goes. I just don't need to do that anymore. I don't want to go to the big events anymore. I actually have had several really not great experiences the last few I went to where I didn't feel well while I was there. It just didn't, the energy was all off for me. And I decided that's one of the things I'm letting go. I'm giving that up. I don't need it. I don't care. I love to do a small event right here, like a VIP day. Just come and spend time with me. Let's talk through what you need in your life, where you're going. What does that feel like for you? I love that. I love that. I haven't done it for a while, and I'm really looking forward to having a time where I hope that I'll be able to do that more here. Come and spend this time with me. Let's sit down face to face. Let's have that conversation that you've been wanting to have, where you can talk about the things that you've held tight to your heart that maybe, I'm not a therapist, okay? I'll say that very clearly. If you need a therapist, get a therapist. You need a doctor, get a doctor. But just sitting down with someone who's walked the walk, who's still walking the walk, that understands. I love that concept. So all those clothes, they got to go. Big giant marketing events, gone. Getting on a plane to fly anywhere, not on the list. Right now, not even RVing, which has been a very prominent part of our life. I am considering if I still want it to be in a smaller way, because I'm the driver also. Drove us all over the country in a huge RV, worked from all over the place. Very special times with it, also some very tough times with it, challenging times with it. And I don't know, I just feel kind of like nesting right now. So another thing that's jettisoned to the side, going anywhere right now. Kind of don't care about it. It's okay. It's okay to just want to have the peace. And that's what I'm having to learn. I'm having to learn to slow it down, learn to do less, learn to get very picky about what I choose to do, what feels right for me, and focus on that. Right now it's here, and it's my school community, the Renegade Bloomer, where I just want to be able to gather people like us in a safe place where we can talk about these things and sure, talk about how you can turn your expertise into revenue. I mean, who can count on Social Security? Or there's so many things that are happening for people that are making people afraid. And so that's another thing. I've been very high ticket for a long time, and I'm looking at how I can have some smaller entry points for people that are affordable and easy for them to do and still give them a solution to something. And I got to say, I did a video yesterday on the pivots for copywriting in 2026. I highly recommend you watch it if you're into copywriting, marketing strategy, any of those, because I think it's going to be very freeing and very encouraging to the point where I'm like, okay, I'd be willing to take on some copywriting clients again now, because I kind of stopped for a while. Because it was just, I was writing these monstrous sales letters with 24 emails to go with it and a bunch of landing pages and a 60-page sales letter. I'm just kind of over that too, and so is the marketplace. Now it's relationship, it's the feeling. I hope this video gives you a feeling of something, of hope, of inspiration, maybe a laugh, something to think about. Let me know if it did. Because I'm going to wrap it up now, because you know what? I could probably sit here and talk for another hour, and so I'm going to stop. I was kind of afraid to do this video, but I did it anyway. So same for you. Move out of your comfort zone. If it scares you a little bit, lean into it, see what happens. Nothing terrible is going to happen. We're not breaking anything, okay? And just see how it feels to do it and what happens when you do. Because you know what? We're not done yet. We've got so much more to do because it's never too late. This is Tina Lorenz. Thanks for being here with me in Tucson today. I hope you've enjoyed sitting outside in the courtyard with me. I'll be talking to you again soon. Bye for now.